does America not have better public transit? And how do Americans think they can cut carbon emissions if they're all driving around in personal automobiles? And why do Americans hate public transit? The answer is America's unresolved racist past and free-range industry. At one time, America didn't have just good public transit. America was the leading nation in developing mass transit systems. What made these systems so ingenious? Their adherence to the electric streetcar or cable car, which made our once densely packed urban centers more navigable and community-oriented. My name is Tyler Michael Harmon, and today I'm going to share with you the history of the streetcar in America, why it went away, and why we need to help bring it back and levy more spending for public transit. Starting in 1884 in Cleveland, Ohio, the East Cleveland Street Railway Company operated the nation's first electric streetcar. In the following decades, up to the 1920s, every major American city had a streetcar system. Los Angeles at one time not only had the most extensive system in the nation, it was the best in the world. These passenger railways created civic pride, business districts, and business nodes within neighborhoods, helped establish neighborhoods, and created seamless urban mobility throughout many newly formed and developing cities in America. Most of these lines were actually privately owned, however. This privatization would be the streetcar's ultimate demise. Starting in the 1920s, GM, Standard Oil, Firestone, and other automotive and oil companies banded together and started to buy up private streetcars and replace them with buses. At the time, to this decision's credit, we were also still smoking while pregnant. But by the 1950s, nearly every streetcar system had been bought up and converted to bus. In our own backyard, proof of this can still be found sunk at the bottom of Elliott Bay, where every streetcar that once provided cheap upward mobility to the city still lies. How is this racist? Well, for one, America. But two, the policies of the Jim Crow South and segregation led federal and state governments to allow the 1955 Federal Highway Act to bifurcate many American cities where electric streetcars once resided. This act destroyed many BIPOC communities. Many black-owned business districts were torn down in the path for the new freeway systems. Think Roger Rabbit. And many urban barrios and ghettos were economically starved and eradicated by racial sequestration. Why does I-5 bisect Seattle the way that it does? Who used to live on the east side of the freeway? On Capitol Hill. I-5, in fact, nearly ran down Rainier Avenue instead of its current route. But if you want the most blatant example of freeway racial sequestration, however, look no further than Compton, LA. Enough said. And these same companies that promoted buses and demolished streetcars were also lobbying state and federal officials hard to initiate the building of highways for their own business interest. In America, we see public transit being a government handout or a part of the welfare state. This outlook, too, is clearly racist and classist. So what is our nation doing to reestablish these streetcar systems, or even bolstered public transit at all? Nothing. The latest spending bill, Build Back Better, only allocates roughly $20 billion in federal resources to public transit nationally. That's like giving Gigi Hadid a $5 and expecting her to slay on the runway. I'm sure she will, but I'm sure it won't be in clothes. Our grid systems are incredibly inefficient and add to our energy overconsumption. Grids do not link 2 points efficiently together, and there is a loss of energy in navigating grid systems. Streetcars utilize our rectilinear behavior most effectively. Streetcar energy consumption is also half of a private vehicle's in kilowatt hours, and the streetcar provides this ride at half the energy expenditure of a private car to multiple peoples at once. Streetcars also tie our urban centers and business districts together and form an urban unity, something lacking in a nation that chose a suburban form of housing and planning that prioritizes the comforts of the individual over the community as a whole. The political discourse surrounding climate change mitigation stems from a divided American public that, due to our urban erasure and destruction of our streetcar systems, no longer knows how to communicate within a community, let alone be a part of one. Streetcars tied a young nation together and I believe can help unify a divided nation today. While cities opt for a return to streetcars sparsely, these systems are ill-funded by our federal government today. To make public transit accessible to all again, America must reconcile its hateful and racist past in order to find public transit solutions for a nation facing crisis due to climate change. Streetcars are not the only solutions for how to help mitigate carbon emissions in America, but it is one of many solutions that, when enacted together, can achieve massive reductions in carbon emissions. Streetcars are meant to build and hold communities together, and communities are our biggest tools in mitigating climate change. Re-establishing these streetcar lines builds resiliency within our built environment and revitalizes our urban centers, providing easy connection between communities. Thank you.